All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up.
Well, I got a burr under my saddle.
We talk, you listen.
Somebody that's going to take an innocent life is not mentally insane?
You know them.
Time to nut up or shut up.
You love to hate them.
It's the Denton and Sasquatch Show.
Can I bring my AR-15 next time?
Sure.
Yes.
This place is half talk show, half weird daycare. I love it.
You can't handle the truth.
Hello and welcome to the first Denton and Sasquatch podcast of 2019. My name is Sasquatch. I'm in California. Then we got Denton. He's over in Alabama still. And we're sitting here talking to each other, and you get to listen. How lucky are you? What's going on, my friend?
Boy, I'm just glad not to be sick anymore.
Oh, that's good. You're getting over it. I may be getting it.
Oh, boy. Yep, it was a Merry Christmas. Saturday before Christmas, well, actually Friday, I started feeling weird. I mean, not Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer weird, but just, didn't feel right.
Yeah.
And before Christmas, I mean, it was a good one. And it lasted until the first week into January.
Oh, that's always fun.
Yeah, it was great. That's why we didn't do the podcast on the 6th or whatever it was. Yeah. And Sasquatch was busy the whole time, with the holiday season there, because he has a girlfriend.
Yeah, sort of.
So to put everything in perspective for y'all, our love lives and our sick times come before everything else.
For now.
But look, Sasquatches, there aren't that many. They need to get married, procreate, and make more little sassies.
Yeah, we need more little hairy ones running around.
Yeah, so we're all rooting for Sasquatch, aren't we? And if you are, feel free to email Sass and wish them all the luck at our email address, which is
DentonandSassShow@gmail.com.
And if you want to go to the website that we rarely go to, what is that?
It's DentonandSasquatch.com. Speaking of that, I keep getting emails from whoever we have hosting it saying, "Hey, where are you?"
I paid it.
I just think that we don't go there. So we'll try it. It's a new year. That's a resolution. We'll start writing more on there.
Yeah, we're going to do that. We promise. Yep. And also, if you want to go ahead and see where we really hang out at, you can go to prepperforums.net. See, I remember that one. Okay, but you go to prepperforums.net. You can talk about preparation for the end times, near end times, politics, religion, whatever. We're there. We're up to our eyeballs in it. And so just get ready you really need to prepare this year, because I'm pretty sure this is going to be the year. This is why I'm working all the overtime I can to get my money in my pocket to buy more beans and bullets and escape routes. And I'm going to tell you why we need to do this.
Why's that, Denton?
Well, I'll tell you. Because our society is going to hell in a handbasket.
Going to?
Yeah, it's heading that way, and most people don't even understand they're in a handbasket, and it's going to get warm. Look here, this is from Breitbart. A lot of my stuff comes from Breitbart. I've been holding on to this for a week and a half. Witchcraft booming in America. More witches than Presbyterians. What do you think of that?
I think we need to bring back the Salem witch trials.
Ruh-roh. No, this is the New Testament time. You're not supposed to burn them at the stake. You're supposed to witness to them so that they too can learn who Jesus is, accept him, and go to heaven and be with us forever and all that kind of stuff. Not burn them alive and kill them and send them to hell. It's not our job.
Oh, all right.
Now that I've got that out of the way, thanks for setting me up on that, because a lot of people say, well, the Old Testament says the Lord doesn't want you to suffer witches. Okay, that doesn't mean burn them nowadays. Read the New Testament. Anyway, witchcraft is proliferating in the United States, with some 1.5 million Americans now identifying as witches, pointy hats and all, while mainstream Christian denominations shrink in numbers each year, the report claims. Why is that important? The United States is still a statistically Christian nation, with some 70% of Americans identifying themselves as Christians, is markedly less so even from a generation ago. Well, it's kind of important because, as we've said many times, our understanding of our rights and our liberties comes from the laws of nature and nature's God, Christianity. Now, as the number of Christians shrink, the number of witches, Muslims, all these different Satanism, they don't see things the way we do. Okay, so they're not going to see protecting our individual liberties and rights the same way. I think what's worse is these Democrats, to be honest with you.
Well,
they're all going socialist.
Yeah, and socialist, communism, and aren't most communists atheist?
Yeah, they are. As a matter of fact, Russia Soviet Union was really down on Christianity because Christianity is about the individual liberties and rights and that kind of stuff. And the Soviet Union wanted everybody to worship and follow the dictates of not God, but the government.
Yep, the state.
So, yeah. So it's just something for y'all to think about. We're losing our faith. Now, if we're losing our faith, we're going to lose the country. There's no doubt about that. Because look over to Europe, you see how they lost their faith. And now the Muslims are taking over. Before the Muslims, you had socialism was running rampant. So Western Europe is doomed.
Well, the funny thing, real quick, is I know a lot of people make fun of Christianity. Oh, you believe in this big guy with a white beard that lives in the clouds and blah, blah, blah. They make fun of it. But I have a friend who he married this girl. She's a little meek thing. Just, always seemed like she was scared. She opened up a little bit the more I got to know her, but still real meek and meager, And I never knew it, but one day she said something about witchcraft, and she was a witch, and I was like, what? And she started telling me about how she was going to go into the forest, and they were going to do some circle and put some rocks around and do something to cleanse something. And I'm thinking, and you people make fun of Christianity? So, I don't know. I mean, I guess if it's your thing, it's your thing, but it just seemed a little odd to me.
The last place I worked at, I had a friend that was a Wicca. He was Wiccan.
Mm-hmm.
And he married his late 30s, early 40s. He married a 19-year-old girl who was rebelling hard against her parents, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
And they had their little Wiccan marriage ceremony in the woods. They did the little vows, what the Wiccans do. Then they stripped naked, painted themselves blue, and went traipsing, as he said, through the woods.
So to be Wiccan, you have to make yourself look like a Smurf?
And traipse through the woods, naked, yes.
All right, that sounds like fun.
Now, if you'd ever seen that fellow, you'd know you'd rather gouge your eyeballs out with a dull pencil than to see that. Anywho, so now that we've got that out of the way. So, okay, now this is what losing your faith will lead to, culturally speaking. Now, this is from Breitbart as well. Just before Christmas, British actor Dominic West stirred James Bond fans by exclaiming that it was time for a transgender actor to be chosen to star as the next 007, and trans actors have grabbed onto this idea with gusto, pushing hard for such an unlikely outcome.
Well, I mean, that would change the agent's number to OOD, wouldn't it? They got boobs, double D, O-D, never mind.
Anyway, West, who was once suggested as a possible Bond star himself, apparently has other actors in mind for the role. Listen to this crap. Maybe a transgender Bond would be cool, West said. There's a very cool woman who's the wife of an actor in his latest movie, Colette, who is a captain in the electrical engineers, the highest-ranking transgender soldier in the Army. Okay. Now, see, to me, this is totally confusing. Is that captain in the electrical engineers a man or a woman? Okay, it doesn't. I don't know. He's trans. What is it?
Well, whatever it was born as, it pretends it's the other thing.
Okay, is that how you figured out?
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but I know whatever it was born as, it pretends it's the other thing.
That's just that's more than I want to try to figure out. Okay, it's just absolutely just. Now, who is this cat now? I'll just call him cats because who knows what it is. Who was looking at Scott Turner? Who is this Scott Turner dude? Anyway, somebody in this article here, it must be an actor or a comedian or some kind of moronic entertainer. Scott Turner Schofield also chimed in saying the idea of including trans men in that and the impact it would have on culture. Yeah, it's going to have impact on culture, you moron, by creating visibility and accepting trans men as the be-all and end-all of men cannot be underestimated.
Well, it is going to have an impact because I'm not going to go see the movies.
Yeah. But what he's saying is this is going to show that trans men are the be-all and end-all of men. So somebody who started out as a woman but then got accoutrements, okay,
Add-ons
attached, are the end-all be-all of men.
Okay, well, you know what? All right. This is Hollywood talking out of both sides of its mouth yet again. Because just the other day, I heard on the radio, there's this new movie coming out with the guy that was in Breaking Bad. Can't think of his name right now, but you know who I'm talking about, right?
Sure.
And he's with Kevin Hart, the comedian. They're both in this movie together. Well, anyway, he plays a quadriplegic in the movie. And, of course, all the quadriplegic people are screaming and yelling, oh, well, shouldn't you have a quadriplegic person play that role? Because he's not really quadriplegic. He doesn't know what it's really like. And, of course, all Hollywood says, oh, well, that's a good idea. We should probably include more quadriplegic. And it's like, well, wait a second. If a quadriplegic has to play a quadriplegic role, then James Bond, being a heterosexual male, has to be played by a heterosexual male, because that's what the character is.
And a drunk.
Yeah.
Did you hear? Yes, I'm going right on into my WashingtonTimes.com article here. But first off, did you hear or read that Nancy Pelosi said the wall would be an immorality?
Yeah, I believe I heard that thrown about quite a bit.
Yes. The wall would be an immorality. Well, here's what I think is immoral for the government to allow to come into this country. Border authorities are referring 50 people a day for urgent medical care, including tuberculosis, flu, and even pregnant women about to give birth. Women coming, do they not care about the baby? I mean, seriously, most of those in need of care are children, and a staggering 28% are under age 5, having been dragged along for the trip by parents who, in many cases, are hoping to use the children as a shield against speedy deportation out of the United States. Now, we're talking about pneumonia, tuberculosis, parasites. Okay.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah. Okay, so our government has allowed these people to think that all they got to do is traipse across the border with kids and they're not going to get kicked out. Now, that is immoral. Why would our government want these people to come over and endangering their children? I ask you.
Well, because their children go to private schools and will not be among the riffraff that come over here and wander around with the rest of us, so it's fine if they bring parasites and kill all of us off.
Oh, so they're trying to cull the herd.
Yeah, I believe so.
But this is getting kind of old. One of the guys at work, he doesn't work with me. He's one of the ones that are not going to get paid next payday. This is what he said. He'll be okay. Just build the wall.
Yes.
Yeah, I know that they surrounded Schumer and Pelosi surrounded themselves with some other civil servants, of course, or, they're wanting the paychecks. I understand that. But this guy had it around the money. Just build the wall. So that's all I have to say. I'm done.
All right. Well, since we're on that topic, we might as well continue. Here we go. The government shutdown has created an interesting situation at prisons across the nation. Florida inmates feasted on lavish holiday meals of grilled steak, garlic macaroni biscuits, and holiday pies while guards watched as they work without pay. Boo-hoo. The poor federal guards aren't getting paid while the inmates are eating steak. Now, see, this is just the media zigzagging the narrative to where they want it. Because really, they do this for the prisoners every year at Christmas because most of the time they get crap to eat anyway. So they do this one nice thing for them. So it would have happened whether there was a shutdown or not.
Well, first off, why are inmates getting that kind of food anytime? Number one. Number two, I used to work in a state pen as a correctional officer, and the food was more than adequate. Okay, you just kind of got used to eating with a spoon. You weren't going to get a knife. I mean, but the food was not bad. But they're in there. They shouldn't be getting steak anyway. And again, like you said, they're federal prison guards. Maybe you should work somewhere else, to be honest with you. And yeah, they're spinning it.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm trying to point out. But I mean, really, they only do this on big holidays like Christmas, and I'm sure it's because it probably helps control them a bit. Here, have a nice meal, and they don't want to, kill people. But
no, I don't agree. I mean, no, never mind. Okay, here's one of our favorite things to do in State Pen. You can smell when they're cooking julep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, julep. They'll get an empty bleach container or something like that to get one of their buddies that works in the kitchen to get them some fruit pieces and stuff, and they'll make homemade wine basically. And they put a little piece of cloth over it and tie it at the end there, and they always keep it buried in the garbage. Doesn't that sound tasty?
Mm-hmm.
But you can tell with the garbage can that's not all the way emptied. When they empty the garbage cans, they think we're stupid, And then you can smell the odor of it cooking off the julep. And then the day before Christmas or New Year's or whatever it is, you just kick the crap out of the garbage can and it spins around, and the julep container come out and say, "Whose julep is this? Somebody want to claim this?" Don't be worried about them raising hell back at you. Just put it on lockdown. You get the goon squad, and they'll come beat them up. It'll be okay.
Well, speaking of spin, they also did the same thing with the national parks. Of course, I live not near, but close enough to Joshua Tree National Park. And if you watched any of the mainstream media, they were saying, "Oh, the toilets are overflowing and there's trash everywhere, and it's horrible what they're doing to the parks because of Trump's shutdown." Well, there's a radio station that I listened to who decided to send a reporter out there and see exactly what was going on. And guess what he found? None of that was true. There was no trash anywhere. The toilets were not overflowing. In fact, the only thing he said he saw wrong while he was there were people parking not in designated parking spots because there was nobody to enforce it.
Outlaws.
Yes, they're damaging the park by parking to the left of the parking spot rather than in the parking spot.
Double parking even.
Yes, that infamous double parking. But yeah, they were lying. They're basically lying. And they said something about Yosemite too. "Oh, they're closing down parts of Yosemite. This campground is going to be closed and this one because of the shutdown." Well, if you happen to know anything about Yosemite, those campgrounds shut down from December to May anyway because of the snowpack. So they were going to be closed anyway.
So you're saying the media is lying to us on purpose to make Trump look bad?
Imagine that. But, since we are talking about the Democrats, let me find it here again. Yes, I'm looking at a picture of Nancy Pelosi's house right now. And take a wild guess what she has going around her house.
Azalea bushes.
There's a few bushes, yes.
Pansies?
Pansies,
No.
Maybe some of those. Well, it is in San Francisco, so.
A wall.
Yes, and it's not just a wall. I'm estimating from the picture here, probably about a 15-foot wall. So it's not your garden variety 6-foot wall that you can look over and talk to your neighbor. No, this is a 15-foot wall.
That's kind of like what President Trump wants to build for us.
Yeah, that immoral thing. Why doesn't she tear that wall down and invite everybody over?
Everybody in San Francisco should go there, climb the wall, and say, "Hey, I'm here now.
No.
Feed me."
No. People in San Francisco, they're cool. All the people from Mexico should go to her house.
Okay.
And climb
somebody.
the wall and tell her, "All right, pay for our schools and pay for our health care and pay for our food and our cell phones and all that fun stuff.
And put me in your limo and take me to a doctor."
But, really what I want to talk about is all right, last night we all know that Trump did his little presentation from the Oval Office to the American people about the shutdown and about the wall. And, of course, the Democrats had to do their rebuttal. And afterward, we got to hear Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi basically try to spin things around and make it look how they want it to look. But I just the whole time listening to that, I couldn't help but think there are people in parts of America that may listen to them and say, oh, it sounds like what they're saying, like it can't be that bad. Well, let me tell you, I just want the rest of America that doesn't live near Mexico, like I do, to understand what's going on. I was born and raised here, so I've been here 40-something years. And California, at least Southern California, where I live, used to be a nice place. You could pretty much go anywhere. You were safe. No big deal. Nowadays, there are parts of my general area here that I will not go in. Because if I do, I will most likely be killed.
And you're a pretty big feller.
Mm-hmm. Well, I am a big feller, but no matter how big I am, they put a bullet in me, I'm dead.
Well, that's true. Now, are you saying that all these people are illegals or Hispanic or?
Well, I mean, there are certain areas that are largely Hispanic, and that could mean some legal, some illegal, but there are also areas that are definitely all illegals. Basically is what I'm trying to say. And I mean, it's not just, I mean, it's majority Hispanic, but I mean, there's illegals from China, there's illegals from every place here, but mainly it is Hispanic. But I just want people to realize that what they're telling you is not the truth. Because there's just a very small area that I live in that I know most people are thinking, oh, well, it's just the white area because you're white. Well, no, it's there's Hispanic people in it, and Asian people, and black people. But it's a nice area. The other areas have trash and houses with broken windows. I mean, and this is even where I grew up, the house that I grew up in, the area there is just gang graffiti everywhere, trash everywhere. It's not, it's not the local Gymco anymore, or Fedco, or the big stores. Now it's little carnicerias and check cashing places and pot shops and the type of businesses that bring in unsavory characters, so to speak.
So what used to be a nice area, a traditionally, I guess that's the best way I can say it, a traditional culture, American culture, has lost its way, culturally speaking. It
has. It looks like when I used to go to Mexico, I don't go to Mexico anymore, but when it was somewhat safe to go down there, I used to go for surfing, down in Rosarito, and it now looks like in my old area what it used to look like in Mexico. So when they tell you, oh, these people are coming in and they contribute so much to America, no, they don't. They bring America down to where Mexico was.
Well, and that makes sense, because if you're wanting to bring people in to your country, first, you don't need a bunch of them coming in at one time. They need to have the ability to assimilate instead of just hanging out with their own people. Because really, if you take over an area, do you have to learn the language? No, you don't have to learn it. Do you have to learn the culture? No, you just maintain your culture. And, of course, then you vote Democrat. And because their culture, those people are coming from socialist countries, they're going to stick with what they know, even though it destroyed their nation. Okay, but you should want to bring in the people that is going to build your country up. And I don't mean manual labor build up. I mean the people, the brightest, the smartest. I don't think there's any doctors and engineers trying to scale the wall. So the people that's coming over here, obviously we've already talked about the disease they're bringing, the violence they're bringing is what you've been talking about. They're not bringing anything from south of the border that's going to build our country up. All it's going to do is, like you said, drag it down, because it's destroying our culture. We went through other things that we're killing ourselves with to begin with. We're losing our faith, which means we're going to lose a foundation that supports our individual rights and liberties, which seems like we forgot about anyway. We're doing that to ourselves. We're doing that through going socialist, atheism, Wiccan. We already talked about all that stuff. Then on top of that, other than we're shooting our own selves in the feet, we're bringing other people in to shoot the other foot. And that really doesn't make sense. But one more thing I would like to bring up. You're talking about President Trump's address to the nation from the Oval Office. Why did Chuck and Nancy decide they need to have a rebuttal? This is not a State of the Nation address. When Ronald Reagan did the same thing when we attacked Libya back in the mid-'80s, do you think the Democrats were just waiting to have their rebuttal to that?
Well, I thought that too. When I heard that they were going to have a rebuttal, I thought, well, that's weird.
It is very weird, but since how the liberal media despises Donald Trump, they had to have Nancy and Chucky come up there and try to call Trump a liar, and all they did was make themselves a bigger liar. People need to understand that. They need to follow the facts to begin with. Every time they say, well, Donald Trump is a liar and he needs to be impeached, they never say where he lied.
Yeah.
You know, they just say he's a liar. These general statements.
Well,
that's all they can do. And the lower, their base people, that's all they need to hear.
One of the things that Chuck Schumer said also was that President Trump was throwing a temper tantrum because he wasn't getting what he wanted. Okay, Chuck, what have the Democrats been doing since the day Trump got into office?
Hello, pot, meat, kettle.
Yes, except throwing huge temper tantrums. What are all those little protests, all the sign waving and virtue signaling and all that stuff? That's a temper tantrum because you didn't get the president you wanted. So don't tell us or Trump that he's having temper tantrums when it's actually you guys having the temper tantrums.
Donald Trump is not having temper tantrums. He's acting like a father being stern with ignorant children.
Well, and that's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of tough love. I mean, I've seen people, even in my family, my brother was an alcoholic, and we had to use tough love because, we coddled him, we gave him what he needed, and he just continued to be a drunk because he was a drunk. He is a drunk. Well, at some point, to help him get better, we had to use tough love, and that meant not being nice to him. And that's what you got to do. And he finally turned his life around once we were no longer nice to him. So,
well, I'm glad that worked, but I don't think it's going to work on a national level because I think you figure half the country voted for Hillary. They gave the House back to the Democrats. I think we're in a little bit of trouble, to be honest with you. And I don't see how we're going to drag ourselves out of this trouble.
Well,
now, Trump, huh?
Well, I was just going to say, I think personally, I think a lot of it is the media, which is only a propaganda machine for the left. It's them controlling the narrative, so you only hear what they want you to hear about Trump. Oh, Trump bad, Trump horrible, Trump doing this, he's a racist, he's a xenophobe, he's a this, he's a that. They never talk about any of the good things that he does. And so, once you're fed that constantly, people start to believe it. And I just hope that people are smart enough to go, make up their own minds, to go out there and actually look for the facts. Come to California, visit for a little bit. Come to Orange County, see what I'm talking about. Go to Santa Ana while you're here. See if you make it out alive.
And don't forget that as Gen X is the last generation, right?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, yeah, I think so.
Okay, well, the majority of them prefer socialism over capitalism. Okay, that's why I say this: we're lost. Our kids are preferring socialism over capitalism. The media is lying to us. The Democrats and establishment Republicans are not in our favor. I don't see any way out of this. So I'm pretty sure that we're doomed. So what do you reckon we ought to do?
Drink up.
I hope we make it to the next Christmas, but I'm telling you right now, I don't feel too awful hopeful for that. So I'm buying beans and bullets, working all the overtime. I hope you do too. And Sass, you and Hot Nursey need to get out of California while you can.
We're working on it. Trust me. We have the discussion almost daily.
I can imagine. All right, look here. Hope y'all come and see us again Sunday. We will be doing this again Sunday. Promise we're going to start going back regular. Holidays over, we're back to business. Unless Sasquatch is getting sick, then, well, we'll just text it or type it on our website.
I'll tough it out.
All right. Well, y'all have a good night, and we'll see you Sunday then.
Hasta luego.
Get used to that.